In the summer of 2017, the town of Willow Creek, Texas, woke up to a story that no one could have imagined. Willow Creek is small, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and the sheriff recognizes your car. Crime was usually limited to petty thefts or the occasional drunk driving. But one night, everything changed. It started with a call from a local teenager named Hannah Lewis. She was 17 and lived alone in a modest townhouse on the edge of Willow Creek. At 11:43 p.m., she dialed 911. Her voice was shaky. "Someone's in my house," she whispered. Then the line went dead. Dispatch called back immediately, but there was no answer. Deputies arrived within 8 minutes. The front door was unlocked. Lights were off. Hannah was gone. Her bedroom window was slightly open, just enough to slip through. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no overturned furniture. Her laptop was still on her desk. Her backpack lay next to the bed. Even her phone, fully charged, was in plain sight. Investigators quickly noticed something strange. On the living room floor, a trail of footprints appeared faintly in dust along the hardwood. They were small, childlike, though Hannah was a teenager. They led from the living room to the staircase, then disappeared. No prints outside, no footprints in the yard. It was as if someone had walked through walls. Hannah's friends said she had been anxious for weeks. She mentioned feeling watched, checking the locks repeatedly, changing passwords. She believed someone had hacked into her devices. At first, her friends dismissed it as paranoia, but digital forensics painted a different picture. Her Wi-Fi network had been accessed multiple times at unusual hours, sometimes when she was at school, sometimes at night. The intrusions weren't random. They came from within the town, from IP addresses that couldn't be traced. The investigation took a darker turn when police discovered a hidden compartment beneath Hannah's bedroom floorboards. Inside, there were several notebooks filled with detailed drawings of her house, floor plans, camera placements, window measurements, and several pages with a single sentence repeated over and over: "I know where you are." Handwriting analysis confirmed the pages were Hannah's, written in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. She had been documenting the intrusions herself, trying to make sense of what was happening. 2 days after Hannah vanished, a local jogger found a red scarf caught on a fence near the creek that ran behind her neighborhood. It belonged to Hannah. No other items were found, no footprints leading away, no signs of a struggle, just the scarf dangling in the wind. Months of interviews, door-to-door inquiries, and digital forensics revealed no suspects. No one saw her leave, no one saw anyone enter. Her car was untouched, her room remained intact. It was as if she had simply ceased to exist. Then came the breakthrough. A year later, a hacker group reached out to local authorities claiming they had found hidden data on a public security camera server linked to Willow Creek. The footage had been automatically deleted, but the group recovered several frames showing a figure wearing dark clothing entering Hannah's home around 11:35 p.m. the night of her disappearance. The figure was careful, methodical, almost surgical. No weapon was visible, no one else was in the frame. The timestamp matched the 911 call. Further digital analysis revealed the figure had used a smartphone to monitor the house remotely, likely using a compromised security camera feed. The phone's MAC address was untraceable, likely a burner device, but the direction of the figure's movement, entering the house, remaining on the first floor, and then vanishing without leaving, suggested an intimate knowledge of the home's layout, someone who had been inside before. By 2019, Willow Creek had become a cautionary tale in cybersecurity and domestic safety. Hannah Lewis had never been found. Her parents, exhausted from endless searching, eventually moved out of town. The townhouse was eventually sold to new owners who claimed they occasionally heard footsteps on the second floor late at night, even though the house was empty. Authorities continue to consider the case open. There are no suspects, no confirmed sightings, and no evidence explaining her disappearance. The prevailing theory is that Hannah was taken by someone who meticulously studied her home, and her habits. Someone patient, careful, and willing to remain invisible. And so, the town of Willow Creek continues to lock their doors a little tighter, check their windows a little more often, and wonder about the girl who vanished so completely that it's almost as if she had never existed at all.
2 years after Hannah Lewis vanished, Willow Creek had begun to settle back into its old rhythm, but the town never truly forgot her. Her disappearance had left a shadow over the community. Parents double-locked doors, neighbors kept an eye on each other's homes, and teenagers whispered about the girl who had vanished without a trace. For law enforcement, the case remained a haunting open file, one they returned to whenever new leads surfaced. In March of 2019, Detective Laura Simmons, who had been reassigned to Willow Creek after years in Austin, reviewed the old digital evidence with fresh eyes. She noticed something the original investigators hadn't emphasized. The compromised Wi-Fi logs from Hannah's home contained a pattern. The intrusions didn't occur randomly. They happened during specific periods, always when Hannah was alone, and always for exactly 17 minutes. Not 16, not 18, 17, as if the perpetrator had a strict schedule, a ritual. Simmons brought in a digital forensic specialist, Adrian Cole, to trace the access points. Even with VPNs and burner devices, Cole found a weak signal. It wasn't enough to identify an IP, but it suggested the hacker had been in close physical proximity to Hannah's neighborhood, someone local, someone who knew the streets and the timing of the patrols. Then came the anonymous tip that changed everything. A man calling himself Observer emailed Simmons a single encrypted file. Inside was a short video clip, a blurry handheld shot of Hannah's living room. She was standing near her desk, looking toward the window, obviously aware she was being watched. The timestamp was October 14th, 2017, the night of her disappearance. But what made it chilling wasn't just that she was on camera. It was the faint reflection in the window behind her, a dark figure standing just outside, completely still, watching. Forensic enhancement revealed no weapons, no signs of forced entry, nothing. The figure simply observed, and then the clip ended. Detectives combed the neighborhood again. They interviewed every resident, every teenager, every delivery driver who had been in the area that week. Nothing. No one remembered seeing a stranger. No one reported hearing footsteps, doors, or cars moving at unusual hours. The only consistent detail was Hannah's own notes about feeling watched, doors checked, and shadows glimpsed out of her corner of her eye. By mid-2019, the FBI joined the investigation. They brought behavioral profilers, digital forensic teams, and psychological analysis. Their conclusion was unsettling. The perpetrator was methodical, patient, and highly intelligent. Someone who studied habits, waited for the right moment, and struck precisely without leaving evidence. They described the person as a predator who doesn't need to hurt to terrorize. In July, a local journalist uncovered a clue that had been overlooked. A construction crew replacing water mains 3 blocks from Hannah's home found a small weathered backpack buried near a utility box. Inside was a notebook belonging to Hannah, partially damaged by water. Pages were missing. The remaining pages contained sketches, notes, and repeated lines. "He's always there, watching. I can feel him." No physical evidence of tampering, no fingerprints, just Hannah's handwriting, desperate and anxious. By mid-2020, suspicion naturally fell on Caleb Morris, the young mechanic who had once claimed casual interest in Hannah. He had left town shortly after the disappearance and maintained his innocence publicly. Phone records placed him in the area at critical times, but despite these coincidences, investigators found no direct proof, no DNA, no trace of forced entry, no eyewitnesses. He was in the right place at the right time, suspicious but legally untouchable. Meanwhile, residents reported strange occurrences near Hannah's former home. Late at night, porch lights flickered even when they weren't on timers. Faint shadows appeared in windows. Doors were found slightly ajar, though new owners claimed they always locked them. No one could explain the events. Law enforcement could only document them. The most unsettling development came in December 2021. A private investigator hired by Hannett's family received a tip about an abandoned cabin 12 miles outside Willow Creek. Inside, they found remnants of electronics, hacked cameras, multiple burner phones, and a binder of neighborhood maps. Among the devices was one laptop, partially encrypted, containing photo frames of homes in Willow Creek, including Hannah's. Some frames appeared to be taken during daylight, others at night. In every one, shadows loomed just outside the frame. There was no indication that Hannah had been inside this cabin, no proof anyone had been held there, but the level of surveillance suggested an obsession, a meticulous plan to study her life, her habits, and her home without ever being detected. To this day, Hannah Lewis has not been found. Authorities continue to follow leads, but the case remains open. Caleb Morris has never been charged. The anonymous observer has never been identified. For the town of Willow Creek, the story is a permanent warning, a reminder that someone can be present in your life without ever being seen, that fear alone can be weaponized, and that the most terrifying crimes don't always leave visible traces. They leave people questioning their own sense of safety forever.